open door is going to be a destructive factor in the beginning. I'm so glad to be back. This is something that is very special. I always, every time that I do my show, I try to cover as much as I can, but I love the arts. I love acting. I love the craft deeply. And last week, I went to see Paul Clayton, The Man Who Loved Bob Dylan, written by you, Larry Mollin. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Sissy.
It was very exciting. I'm sending my love to Pat and Alan. I was really thrilled when she told me, Sissy, Alan is going to be part of this amazing musical. You had to come up and see it. And I went to see it last week, and it was such a joy. This is, I think, I don't know. I'm not a musician myself, Larry, but this is work that everybody should see.
Well, it deals with the roots of folk music, and a lot of the performers, especially in New York City, the whole Greenwich Village scene between 1961 and 1967, which was an important part of the city's growth.
Yes, but the quality of the performance, the music, the writing is absolutely exquisite. We're going to be talking about this, but first and foremost, I have to show a clip. I was in Denmark 2 weeks ago. I was there for a title fight, Sauerland Promotions, and we're going to be showing a clip with Erika La Pantera Faria. She's an Argentinian fighter. She's quite remarkable. She's a tough girl, tough cookie. I'm going to be showing a clip, Melanie, whenever you're ready, with the interview right after the fight that she won. She kept the title once again. So whenever you're ready, you can just bring it on. Ok, bueno, aquí estamos esta noche aquí en Dinamarca, una pelea muy importante. Sauerland Promotions promocionó todo este evento con Patrick Nielsen, Clara, la famosa sueca, bella, preciosa, amiga de mi corazón, peleó contra Erika Farias esta noche. Y bueno, primero que todo quería felicitarte por el éxito de la pelea. La primera pregunta que tengo, así concretamente hablando, ¿cuál fue la impresión de Clara antes de subirte al ring esta noche y ahora después de que la pelea terminó? ¿Cambió el concepto de Clara como peleadora o simplemente lo mismo?
No, sigo manteniéndolo, muy buena boxeadora, de muy buen estilo, como lo dije desde un comienzo, y sigo manteniendo ese concepto.
Okay.
Sí.
Técnicamente hablando, ¿tuviste alguna sorpresa durante la pelea?
No, para nada, no. Sabía que era de extremidades mucho más largas, o sea,
claro,
que tenía mejor alcance de brazos y que iba a complicar en ese momento un poco, pero siempre disfruté la pelea y obviamente marqué la diferencia cuando pude conectar bien las manos.
Claro. Y el hecho de que ella, por ejemplo, tiene long reach, que ella puede llegarte, ¿pudiste caminar en la forma que vos te gusta caminar sobre el ring con toda comodidad?
Sí, tal cual, lo disfruté muchísimo, nunca me fui de pelea y siempre me mantuve tranquila para poder marcar la diferencia, y sabía que cuando llegaba una buena mano iba a caer.
Ok, de 1 a 10 esta pelea, técnicamente hablando, ¿cuánto la calificas?
Y la califico un 8.
Un 8. ¿Por qué un 8?
Y porque quizás algunos rounds no fueron por ahí muy claros, en algunos episodios quedaron como muy por ahí, no muy bien visibles técnicamente en los clinch y eso, o sea que técnicamente yo me exijo más, o sea, como boxeadora, como siempre digo, salgo por el mundo como boxeadora profesional, como campeona que soy, para medirme con las mejores y crecer. Entonces, obviamente que siempre me voy a exigir más.
Obviamente, ¿qué sentiste al salir con la audiencia? Porque obviamente estaban yendo por Clara, estás en la Escandinavia, estás en Dinamarca, extrañaste a la Argentina en el momento que saliste y te subiste en ese ring.
Sentí a la gente argentina desde un comienzo, porque ellos siempre están detrás nuestro por las redes sociales, WhatsApp y todo eso nos acompañan, entonces yo sentí el calor argentino y vi un par de argentinos que también estuvieron acompañándonos.
Que lo tengo allá atrás al hombre,
sí,
como el que boxeó y el otro, de la camisa con celeste y blanco.
Sí.
Ahora bien, pregunta, técnicamente hablando, los boxeadores femeninos, las boxeadoras femeninas no ganan tanto como los boxeadores masculinos, porque todavía hasta este nivel, hasta este día, todavía el boxeo sigue siendo considerado un deporte de hombres.
Sí.
¿Qué pensás de eso? ¿Qué pensás del hecho de que las mujeres ganen mejor que los hombres?
Bueno, yo creo que por antigüedad y trayectoria obviamente eso pesa a nosotras. Ojalá que eso cambie mundialmente y que podamos ser reconocida como tal lo merecemos, ¿no? Porque es un deporte de mucho sacrificio, donde hay que comprometerse, donde hay que asumirlo con responsabilidad. Es un deporte donde hay contacto físico y no es fácil. Entonces creo que debería cambiarla en la historia, creo que los promotores que hay en el mundo puedan apoyar a nosotras las mujeres para poder ganar un poco más, ya que el sacrificio es el mismo o quizás más aún por ser mujer.
Ok, 2 preguntas más porque sé que todos estamos on the run. Mentalmente, ¿cuáles son tus batallas más grandes? Tus sombras, tus miedos, tus fantasmas. Yo sé que todos los boxeadores siempre van a decir, I'm gonna win, voy a ganar, voy a destrozarlo. ¿Cuáles son los fantasmas? ¿Cuáles son esas sombras que están detrás de la cabeza de un boxeador? ¿Y cómo se dominan esos demonios? ¿Cómo se dominan esas sombras?
Manteniendo mi centro, no irme de mi centro. Yo tengo un muy buen equipo y la verdad que siempre previo a una pelea tratamos de buscar la paz, de buscar la tranquilidad, la concentración y de no salir del eje, de no meterme en su juego. A veces los boxeadores tratan de sacarte, que es la estrategia que tienen, ¿no? Entonces yo hace ya 2 o 3 peleas desde que salí de Argentina, de Latinoamérica, y tuve la experiencia de visitar Europa. Creo que fue una gran diferencia y una gran experiencia en mi vida, que eso marcó un grado muy importante en mí, que lo que me da seguridad para poder salir a cualquier parte del mundo.
Claro, Lucas Matisse, de 1 a 10, ¿cómo lo calificas?
Lucas Matisse, 9, sí.
Tenés los estándares muy arriba con los boxeadores. O sea, en Argentina siempre he tenido grandes boxeadores, ¿verdad? Desde Carlos Monzón, bueno, yo conozco los que son bien grandes, pero a nivel local hay un gran crecimiento del boxeo femenino.
Muchísimo, el boxeo femenino creció muchísimo en Argentina, son varias las campeonas que hay. Y obviamente, bueno, siempre pesa la trayectoria masculina, ¿no?
Te iba a preguntar de la locomotora. ¿Qué pasó con la locomotora? ¿Todavía siguen en guerra ustedes dos? Porque después de esa conferencia de prensa, los palos y piedras que se tiraron la una a la otra, a mí me dejó, wow. ¿Cómo se llevan ustedes? ¿Tienen una relación buena o no?
No, todavía sigue en la Plaza de Toros buscándome, porque no me pude encontrar todavía.
Voy.
Y bueno.
Bueno, te felicito.
Bueno,
muchísimas
gracias.
El entrenador tuyo, ¿cómo es posible que no le hayamos nombrado?
Mis entrenadores, Claudio Moreno. Ayudante Rodrigo Díaz, que también es técnico.
Rodrigo Díaz.
Preparador físico.
Preparador físico.
Your winner, and still the WBC light welterweight champion of the world, La Pantera, Erika Faria.
Erika Farias vinder altså med dommerstemmerne 3-0. En unanimous decision.
There you go. We showed the clip, and I'm happy as hell. Women, I tell you, we're tough cookies, Larry. I don't care what people say. You know that.
Punch you through. I mean,
that's what I was saying to Erica. Women, they're fighting, they keep throwing punches, and still, even to this day, boxing is considered to be a sport for men. Even though the women are fighting, even though the women are winning titles, going on the road, still, boxing is a sport for men, and we have to change that. So hopefully I can do some help with that. But anyway, let's cut to the chase.
okay.
The play, The Man Who Loved Bob Dylan, Paul Clayton. God help me. I want to just go back, if we can, Larry, to the beginning, because I know that you've been working for, you're a writer.
Yes, I am.
And a professional writer. And you work for big studios, and it's not easy to make a living as a writer, is it?
Well, when I started out, it was a different world. There was no computers.
Right.
So I came to Hollywood in 1978, and there weren't a lot of people who did that kind of work. I mean, it was kind of a magic formula. Fade in was only kind of a certain amount of people even understood the format, because it wasn't on the internet. There wasn't a template for it. And it was a wonderful world to start in, because you didn't get a lot of notes, because there was no time.
Right.
So you'd write your scripts, and pretty much they'd get down on the stage and they'd shoot them, and they would end up as television. There were only 3 television networks then. When I first started in Hollywood, I worked on a series called Chips.
I remember that. My brother used to love that show.
It was a wonderful show. You'd drive to work and you'd think about accidents. What could I really wreck today? What would be a good accident to have?
Right.
But it was a very civilized time in the business. The studios were owned by people, not by corporations.
Right, but the world is ruled by corporations.
Totally changed in 5 years after that. And there were only 3 networks, so when you had a show on like Chips on Sunday night, 40 million people watched it. It was a 40-share show.
Right.
I mean, now if a show gets 2 million people, that's considered a hit show. So it's just a different world. But it was a great time to start and to learn, and I learned from some of the great showmen in the business. They were still around then, and sustained a career till about 2007, and then I kind of left that and decided to transition into theater, which where I started in show business.
This is a big transition, yeah, because you're a theater man.
I had come, as a young man, as an artist. I was an actor, director, writer, and then I had my own theater in Canada for 9 years.
Right, right. But you're from New York, right?
I'm from New York originally.
And you decided to go to Canada. Why you decided to go to Canada?
I was passing through in 1969, and well, it wasn't so much I fell in love with it. There was a big theater festival there, and immediately I wound up directing a play and acting in a play, and then I discovered something which I had never heard of. The government supports artists. They would pay you a weekly wage to be an artist there, which I thought was amazing. So I wound up staying there and then setting up a theater, and then I would get government grants with the one stipulation being the shows could not make money. They had to be art. They had to have the reviews, and so we said, hey, I can do this. I can make shows that lose money. I can do this. And so we did big, elaborate, interesting entertainment shows in Canada, and we're kind of critical darlings. We would do Shakespeare on skates. We would do all kinds of other push the envelope kind of shows for selected audiences, maybe 100, 150 people max. So it was always a very intimate experience, but fairly seminal. And I got to work with lots of the early 70s Canadian actors, and including all the Second City people, and Dan Aykroyd and Catherine O'Hara and Gilda Radner and all those folks. And it was a wonderful time to be in Canada. It was a great gestation period for us. And for me personally, it was kind of like that Malcolm Gladwell thing where you need your 10,000 hours to really be ready for success. And I was able to get that because as a government artist, they would put you on tours. You would do 2 shows a day for 9 months a year in every school and every prison and every madhouse in Canada.
Every place, every single place.
And you just learned your craft. And then, the Canadian curse is, of course, that they don't respect you if you don't leave Canada and have success. And then if you leave, you're a sellout, so you can't win there. But in 1978, I kind of felt I had a TV series there also for 3 years besides this, and we kind of felt that if we were going to move or be ambitious at all, we had to go to LA. And so in 1978, I moved.
But how wonderful is to be able to do that, Larry?
It was great. It was great. It was lovely, and I kept my ties to Canada. My brother actually was with me too, and he became a Canadian citizen, which I didn't. But he did.
Okay. Now let's talk about the play.
Yes, the play I want to say is called Search Paul Clayton.
Paul Clayton,
because I wanted people to search Paul Clayton because he's an unknown figure in music, and it was a play that when I conceived it, I thought it would be interesting to take the idea of a Wikipedia page and structure the play. So you'd see a whole person's life, a menu of a person's life, and I'd be able to spin off, as I told his story, set against the different worlds. And so that's what became the basis of Search Paul Clayton. And Paul Clayton is a man who I had never heard of. I never heard of it. I'm not going to lie to you. Yes. And I had only got introduced to it by one of the Bob Dylan's biographers, a gentleman named Dennis McDougal, who's a friend of mine, an excellent journalist and writer, who just came out with a book called Bob Dylan Last May, a really definitive biography. And he did some research into Paul, and specifically in 1964, Paul was one of 3 other people besides Bob who took this cross-country road trip. And so Dennis had really wanted to do a screenplay about the trip, and because it had all these amazing little incidents in it. But I kind of, at that point of my career, was really out of, and I just didn't have any juice to really want to write a screenplay. But I was getting back into theater, and I just got fascinated with the character. And I asked Dennis, I said, if I do a story about Bob Dylan and just Paul, I won't step on your movie of the road trip. I'll do that as a song, which is what, in the play, we cover that road trip in a talk and blues song, a traditional talk and blues song. But as I started researching Paul Clayton, some interesting things came out. Like in 1976, Bob Dylan and his Rolling Thunder Revue dedicated the encore of the Rolling Thunder Revue to Paul Clayton. And I knew nobody in the audience knew who Paul Clayton was, and that kind of fascinated me. So that became the basis of the start of the picture, because as Paul Clayton says, Bob Dylan dedicated the encore to Paul Clayton, and tonight you're going to find out who he is. And we basically go back and search Paul Clayton and discover his life.